Hi, my name is Annie, and welcome to the Walking Word, where we go through the Bible in a year as part of discipling. And we are now reading the book of Exodus, and we are in chapter 2, the birth of Moses. One of the let me not call it tricks, tips I have for reading scripture is that if it's the first thing you do in the morning, then you pace your day is fully anchored in the word. So by just waking up 15 minutes earlier, you're literally able to finish those 5 chapters a day. So that's just a tip I'm sharing. Chapter 2, the birth and adoption of Moses. Now a certain man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman. Seems okay. Who conceived and bore a son, seeing that he was a goodly child. It's goodly indeed, but anyway, seeing that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. Remember the death of Hebrew boys? When she could hide him no longer, she took a papyrus basket, dabbed it with bitumen and pitch, and put the child in it, placed it among the reeds on the river bank. His sister stationed herself at a distance to find out what would happen to him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river to bathe, while her maids walked along the river bank. Noticing the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to fetch it. On opening it, she looked, and lo, there was a baby boy crying. She was moved with pity for him and said, "It is one of the Hebrew children." Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" "Oh, yes, do so," she answered. So the maiden went. Now, this maiden we're referring to, the boy's sister, is actually Miriam. Miriam is the elder sister of Moses. We'll see her story come out later on once Moses starts his ministry. But for now, she just came to mediate so that her brother is not killed while in the basket. That's why I call it the Moses basket, a Moses basket where children are kept when they're born, they're still newborns. Okay. Shall I go and call one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you? Yes, do so, she answered. So the maiden went and called the child's own mother, Jochebed. We shall hear about her later. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will repay you." The woman therefore took the child and nursed it. When the child grew, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son and called him Moses. For she said, "I drew him out of the water," of the moss. Yeah, there's normally moss in water. Okay, now we go to Moses' flight to Midian. There's a gap where, as a young child, he's already been weaned. He's no longer breastfeeding. When the child was of age, he was now given to Pharaoh's daughter. He's growing up in the palace. We don't hear much about that until now. The ministry is kicks in. Moses' flight to Midian. On one occasion, after Moses had grown up, when he visited his kinsmen and witnessed their forced labor, so he knew his kinsmen. Looking about and seeing no one, he slew the Egyptian and sorry. One of the occasions after Moses had grown up, when he visited his kinsmen and witnessed their forced labor, he saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his own kinsmen. So this was someone close to him. Yeah. Looking about and seeing no one, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out again, and now two Hebrews were fighting. So he asked the culprit, "Why are you guys striking your fellow Hebrew?" But he replied, "Who has appointed you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses became afraid and thought, the affair must certainly be known. And you'll see these are one of the tricks the enemy uses to make you terrified so that you don't do that which you're meant to do. Okay. Then also the stubbornness of the Hebrew. I mean, how we fighting each other and we already have an enemy, a common enemy. Why are we fighting each other? You'll see the stubbornness of Hebrews as we continue reading, but let's continue. Okay. Pharaoh too heard of the affair and sought to put him to death, sought to put Moses to death. But Moses fled from him and stayed in the land of Midian. As he was seated there by a well, 7 daughters of a priest of Midian came to draw water to fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Remember Midian? Midian is one of the tribes that came out of Ishmael. Some shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moses got up and defended them. Uh-huh. I apologize. Let's start from verse 15. Pharaoh too heard of the affair and sought to put him to death, correct? But Moses fled from him and stayed in the land of Midian. We know who Midianites are. As he was seated there by a well, 7 daughters of a priest of Midian came to draw water and filled their troughs to water their father's flocks. Okay. But some shepherds came and drove them away. Why would they do that? Then Moses got up and defended them, and they watered their flock. When they returned to their father, Reuel, he said to them, "How is it that you have returned so soon today?" They answered, "An Egyptian saved us from the interference of the shepherds." So at this point, they're calling Moses an Egyptian, not knowing he's actually Hebrew. Probably Moses is still clothed in the outfit he had, when fleeing Pharaoh, and probably has their look. When you live with people for a long time, you start looking like them. Just say. An Egyptian saved us from the interference of the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. Where is the man? He asked his daughters. Why did you leave him there? Invite him to have something to eat. Moses agreed to live with him, and the man gave him his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She bore him a son, whom he named Gershom. Mhm. Gershom is a word meaning stranger. Gershom is a word meaning stranger. So Moses names his son Gershom. Gershom means stranger. I'm assuming he named him that. Oh, okay. Actually, he tells us why. For he said, "I am a stranger in a foreign land." He's now living with Zipporah, his wife, and their family. The burning bush. A long time passed during which the king of Egypt died. Still, the Israelites groaned and cried out because of their slavery. As their cry for release went up to God, he heard their groans and was mindful of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He saw the Israelites and knew, oh, he saw the Israelites and knew.